Hi, this is Craig for digitalpeoplefolk.com, and today what I wanted to do is to show you how to create a WordPress site on Google Cloud Platform that's fully functional. Now, last year I created a Japanese publishing network on travel for different popular cities for the Japanese market on Google Cloud Platform. And while I was creating this, I found that there was a lot of tutorials that was very incomplete. They'd show me just a little bit of mimicking of the documentation within GCP, but it wasn't really enough to get a site up and running completely. It was as if they just really copied what was in the documentation, presented it in a video form, and that's it. And it was really leaving me hanging because I wanted to see a very full documentation on YouTube or some other video channel that showed all the steps I need, where afterwards I can just start to put in my content or customize my logos or color schemes. And that was really missing. So today I want to show you, I'm creating this site for digitalpeoplefolk.com, and I want to show you the steps that I would take creating the full site from the beginning. So bear with me, excuse the noise in the background, but this is just what I believe is necessary if you wanted to have a fully functional site. In this tutorial, also, you would need to have a few things before you start. I would already assume that you have a domain name and you also already have a Google Cloud Platform account and set up your billing. I believe that part, going into the trial, redeeming your $300 for 12 months, and setting up your billing, I believe that's easy. That's the easy part. Please have that done already. And then I'll get to the next part on where you actually set up your WordPress site and configure it for production use. Please log in to cloud.google.com and you'll see this button up at top that says console. Click that. And the first thing you'll have to do is create a project. So I have several projects in here, and I want to create a new project just for Digital People Folk. I have one in here already, but that's going to be for the real site. So I want to create a new project just for these video purposes, and I'll erase a lot of these instances after the videos. So Digi People videos. I'll hit create. It'll take a few minutes for the actual project to be created. And again, this does assume that you already have a domain and you already set up billing on GCP already. So next, what you want to do is install WordPress. You go to Cloud Launcher, look for WordPress. I like to go with individual instances for each of the sites that I create. And there's a lot of different WordPress solutions on here. Some of them are offered by third parties, so like Bitnami or WP Engine here. Also, there's some that are created by Google. So this Google Click to Deploy. This one, WordPress with NINX and SSL certification by Bitnami. This one, I believe, is new, so I haven't actually tested that one out yet. But I generally use the WordPress certified by Bitnami. So click that. And some of the options that you have are, even though this may say a VM instance, one shared CPU, virtual CPU at this range of gigabytes in memory, you don't have to choose that. So you can actually configure your WordPress the way that you want to. And I'll go through the options as I make my instance. Okay, so this took a few minutes, so we fast forwarded to show you the options. So first is your deployment name. Please create something unique. So I'll do Digi People Test. And currently I live in Tokyo, Japan, so I want to choose a zone that's close. Well, most likely my audience won't be just in Tokyo, but yeah, so maybe I'll do US Central. Now, one thing you have to take into consideration is after you set this zone, it's not something that you can change. So please set the zone for this instance where you believe that you're going to have most of your traffic. And you can go smaller also in your machine size at first, which will save you in the beginning. So I can change this to micro, make it at $4 a month. Then you can customize the memory if you want, make it bigger if you think that you're going to need more memory for this. Your boot disk, you can make it SSD so it's a little bit faster, which will cost you about $1 more a month. Then there's your boot disk, and this is the disk where all of your files are going to be shared, and there are options to change this, but using a plugin from WordPress, and that can be covered in another video. And I'd suggest that you keep these firewall settings. So after that, you do have settings on your IP address. I'd recommend you keep these the same for a basic install. After that, you hit deploy. And even though I chose the SSD persistent disk, you don't have to. You can configure your disk the way that you want to at first, and you can change all of those options afterwards. So it may take a few minutes for your instance to actually deploy. Give it a couple of minutes for it to fully complete. And what this will do is it will give you a numeric IP address URL for you to log in. It'll give you the admin URL, also your admin user, and an admin password. I'm going to very much recommend that your next step after this is to configure your domain. The reason why I say this is because I've had a couple of issues where I tried to configure the domain after uploading my different plugins and themes, but everything goes a lot smoother if you configure your domain after your instance is set up before you start your uploads. Okay, so that is finished, and now it's finished with the ad providing you with a URL for your site. So if you go to that link, what you'll see is a very basic installation of WordPress. And on the side, Bitnami, for some reason, puts these little sticker banners on there, which I personally don't like, but they always install it, and I'll show you how to take it off. They'll give you an admin user and also a temporary password, and this is your instance name. So what we want to do next is go to configure your domain. Sorry. So what you want to do is, go to Network Services and go to Cloud DNS. So going to the Cloud DNS, this is where you would configure your domain to connect with your instance. So click on Cloud DNS under Network Services, create a zone, just small letters, Digital People Zone. Okay, and that works. So next is my domain name, digitalpeoplefolk.com. Don't need to create a description unless you want to, and this will help when you have several domains that may be similar, or you want to just make sure you have clarity on what this is for. So this is for a test. It will be erased. Create. What I want to do is copy these name servers to my domain. So the next step is to go to your whatever you're using as a domain registrar to get your domain, and what you want to do is set that up. So I'm using Dynadot, and I'll go to my DNS settings. And since I just got this domain today, I'll go and change that to name servers. Copy the name servers. 1, 2, add more, add all of them. So that's 4. And then you just hit save name server. So this is where you are going to connect your domain name with your instance. So what we want to do at first is we're going to take these records, the name servers, the NS Cloud, and input them into your DNS records in your domain. I've already done this, and it looks like this. So this is within your name servers on your domain registrar. So whatever .com or .jp or .net or .org or any other extension that you have, you would basically put those the name server right there and hit save. I'm going to do cancel since I already have those name servers in my domain settings. So what also we have to set up are a record and a CNAME record. So with the A record, what you have to do is go to your site address and you see these numbers, uh, which is your IP address. You're going to take that and paste it into your IP address. Now, you have to remove the backslash and also the HTTP on it and just put in the numbers and the period on there. And hit create. After that, we need to add in a CNAME. So you go to CNAME, and then up at top, add in www, and then canonical name, you put in that IP address and hit create. So we're actually halfway through the hard parts of setting up your WordPress site. And this is the part that gets a little bit confusing for people setting up your zones. But this is one part of setting up your zone to point to your domain. Next is you have to go into Cloud Shell to configure the server side of WordPress instance. And what you can do is if you moved or if you're on another page, go to Compute Engine, go to VM Instances, then click on your name of your instance. Your instance is the name that you named it. And then from there, you'll see this little icon that says SSH Remote Access. Click that. And what it'll do is launch Terminal. So Terminal is where you can access the back end of your server and do a lot of put a lot of your commands directly into the Unix terminal. And for some people that's not used to this, it looks very technical, but there's only a few steps you need to do with this initially, and I'm going to give you the commands for that. So I've written down the commands already. First command is removing that Bitnami banner that we've seen. So I'll have it in the documentation, but you just basically paste this code, hit return, and it's gone. So if you go back to your instance and refresh it, it's now gone. Delete it forever. Next is configuring your domain with your instance. And for that, what we want to do is you want to go to the directory for your WordPress instance. And then you want to open up a tool called Nano, which helps you to edit files. So you'll have this in your on your screen, and what you do is use the cursor to scroll down until you see where it says define your WP site URL. what you want to do is replace that. Use something like, Notepad or some tool to just replace that with your domain. So I know that I've saved this because I have done this a lot of times with my other domains. So I'll put in digitalpeoplefolk.com here. Copy this, put it here. So doesn't really do a good job at just selecting and erasing. So you need to go and make sure your cursor is behind the text, and then do delete. Make sure that you don't delete too much. Don't go too fast. So after you see that D is deleted, then just do paste, and you have that code in there now that just has your site. Just make sure you spell your domain right. Since mine's is a long name, digitalpeoplefolk.com, I need to just make sure that I spelled it right. And then after that, I'm going to do the command for exit. So on a Mac, it's Control X. I'll hit Y for yes, and then hit return again so that it accepts that. After that, I want to restart Apache, which means to restart my server. So here's the command for restarting the server. Okay. So if everything worked well, I should be able to go to digitalpeoplefolk.com and see my WordPress site. Now, the only issue that I may have is because since I just registered the domain, it may not paginate to the internet yet. And voila, it actually worked. So, I wish I could say that we're done, but we're not done yet. I want you to log in. So since I've been doing this so many times, I already know that it'll give you a default admin username of user, and this custom metadata will have your temporary password. So I want to go user, put in this temporary password, and then we're in WordPress. Now, since you're just watching this video, what I'd like you to do afterwards is create a new user. So create a new user, put in your email address, put in your first name or whatever, and make sure that you have it selected to administrator. Then go to add user, add this user, and log out, log back in, and delete the temporary admin. That way your instance is secure. So that's generally the first thing that I do. After that, I want to install a couple of plugins. And this is where I am mentioning that a lot of the tutorials that I see don't prepare you for creating something production ready. So I like to put in first a maintenance plugin so that my site's not cached, So I'll have it on maintenance mode so that people won't actually go to my site and see a blank page. Next is very important. You should realize that by default, the instances on Google Cloud Platform don't allow you to send email from your instances, but I have a solution for that. Some people recommend the default plugin. There is a default plugin that comes with with WordPress in the Bitnami instance. I actually don't like that because if you activate it and look at it, so if this is actually um, upgraded to work, that's fine. But if it if it doesn't, then the solution that I usually use is a plugin named EasyWP SMPT Settings. And I'll install that and activate. And the reason why I use this is so that I can configure a separate domain to be used for my WordPress site. And what you want to do is from your email is put in the email that you want to use, you at whatever.com, the name that you want to have it on it, the reply to email address, which should be the same. And then for your SMPT host, let's say you're using a Gmail or G Suite domain. What you want to do in your settings is put in smptgmail.com. Type of encryption should be TLS. Your SMTP port will be 587. Then after this, you actually have to put in your username and password for the system to actually authenticate and send email back and forth. After that, you click Save and then do a test email to make sure that it's working. So this is the way that you can use a Gmail email address, or you can use a G Suite email address if you want, but this is the way that you would do it. And I think that that's really one of the features that people often leave out of their tutorials, because you want to know if people are registering for your site or your WordPress site to leave comments, or if you're getting spam, and that's often left out, but very, very important. And I think that after that, everything that you do is pretty much the same on other VPS options or cloud hosting. It's just that there's a couple of things that I believe are different with utilizing Google Cloud Platform, and I hope that this tutorial has taught you how to install a WordPress site on Google Cloud Platform that you can use to grow your business or your personal brand, or whatever. And I'll definitely continue to publish more videos. I'm really into data science, um, creating sites via WordPress, how to do digital marketing. So, you know, subscribe to this channel. If you like the video, if you can use it, please share it with other people. But thank you. I know it's very long, but thank you, and I hope that you got a lot out of this video.